Hi everyone, today I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, past lives. And if you're coming to any of my shamanic journey past life healing workshops, please watch this as a prep video for our journey together. So, what are past lives and what is past life healing about? Well, we already know that past lives are part of this phenomena we know as reincarnation, that souls are transmigrating through time and space, through various lifetimes, accumulating experiences, incarnation after incarnation. Now, if you're Hindu or Buddhist, then that's about a quarter of the world's population. This principle of reincarnation is probably not new to you. But if it's a rather foreign concept, you can also look at past lives as the chapter before. That's basically what past lives are. They are old patterns of stories that color the way we think, the way we feel, the way that we act in our lives. Even in your current life, you've had many past lives as an infant, a child, a teenager, a young adult. When we are going into an expanded state of awareness to observe a past life, it's no different from remembering a time during your childhood. You're just going further back in time. Now, there's so much documentation and research into this area, like the case of James Leninger, who at 2 years old was having nightmares of his plane crash as a World War II pilot. A 4-year-old named Ryan Hammonds would tell his parents about his glory days as a Hollywood extra in the 1930s and 40s. These are just some of the stories that were documented by Dr. Tucker in his book Return to Life, where he met up with and interviewed young children between 2 and 5 who remembered these extraordinary lifetimes from before they were born. These kids had certain preferences or phobias that really couldn't be rationalized by their families. It's just not a logical thing why young children would say to their parents, "You're not my mommy or daddy. That happened before I was in mommy's tummy," or "I remember when I lived in another house." People like Edgar Cayce, Ian Stevenson, and Dr. Brian Weiss definitely helped popularize the remembering of past lives in the West through mediumship and hypnosis. I think past life regression has sparked a lot of interest because it brings a more hopeful lens on our existence. Maybe because when we shift our lens on life from being this finite and limited experience to the understanding that we are living a timeless voyage through the stars as moving fields of consciousness that never die, we somehow show up and make different choices in life. Now, why do we even need to revisit a past lifetime? Why not just focus on this life? Well, similar to how historians study and archive events in the past so that humanity can learn from their mistakes and not repeat them in the future, learning about your past lifetimes offers you an expanded perspective on who you were so you can change who you are and ultimately who you're becoming. When you are able to change your narrative, you shift the way you're experiencing reality. And that is all past life healing is: recalibrating and rewriting your narrative. You can look at past lives as patterns of energy that play out over and over again in the emotional themes through your relationships with yourself, your friends, your families, and with your lovers. You don't even have to be on a spiritual journey to understand that the universe functions as a never-ending pattern unfolding on itself. For example, did you know the diameter of the sun is 108 times larger than the Earth's diameter? And the distance between the Earth and the sun is 108 times the sun's diameter. The distance between the Earth and the moon is about 108 times the moon's diameter. You see this 108 theme? Nature is this beautiful mathematical dance. And somehow the ancient yogis knew all of this and were practicing 108 sun salutations on special solstices. There are 108 mala beads to count mantra repetitions. The Tibetans have 108 sacred books. Stonehenge has a diameter of 108 feet. In astrology, the 12 zodiacs multiplied with the 9 planets equal 108. And it goes on and on. In the East, 108 is a number that represents the unification of the microcosmic and macrocosmic patterns of life. Even if we're not mathematicians, we are constantly experiencing repeated patterns in our lives. If you're a surfer, you understand the pattern of waves. And when you do, you know how to ride them better. If you're a tennis player, you learn to understand the patterns of where the ball might travel. If you're a meteorologist, you understand the pattern of clouds so you can predict the weather. From a healing point of view, if we can unravel the patterns of our past life stories, we can see how they might play out in this life. All patterns, or let's just call them themes, which is a kind of recurring pattern, are only present in your life now because they carry over from where you left off. It's like in school. You learn geometry first, then algebra, and then you pick up physics or calculus, right? Year after year, you pick up where you left off. So lifetime after lifetime, you pick up on past themes and lessons. If you spent a lifetime trying to control other people by hurting them, you might come back to experience a lifetime where you're making amends for hurting others. And those souls you hurt back then, they might come back now and try to hurt you, let's say, as a kind of test for your own soul's journey to see how you're going to handle it this time. You had a lifetime in a pattern of control, a pattern of abuse of power. So that energy is going to ripple out until that lesson is learned. And when the lesson is learned, then the pattern might change. So I'm 3.5 years older than my sister. When she was born, my mother gave her to me to hold. For a split second, when they turned their heads, I was found holding my sister near the windowsill with the intention of throwing her out of our fourth-story apartment. I don't know why, but there was this deep-seated animosity towards her that could not be explained. I was about 3.5, 4, right? And as soon as she was born, I felt this extreme hate. And we had a very turbulent childhood together where I would bully her, I would physically hurt her. I mean, I'm not proud of it, but it was really awful. And it wasn't until years later that when I regressed into a past life memory and I witnessed that I was in an ancient lifetime in Mongolia where I was a princess and my sister was my father then. I understood why I had so much anger with her in this life. In that ancient Mongolian lifetime, my sister, who was my father then, wanted me to marry a noble who I did not love. It was for the purpose of building this strategic alliance. And I didn't want that. So I disobeyed. I eloped with my lover, and men were sent after me. And then I was killed because I disobeyed direct orders. And so in this life, there is an ongoing theme of rebelling against authority figures. And I recognized it instantly in my sister when she was born, even though in this life she's innocent and she was a newborn at the time. But something within me that doesn't make any sense was seeking revenge. This energy of authority definitely was repeated in how controlling my parents are in this life. It repeated in a traumatic experience with a very verbally and emotionally abusive first grade teacher and other teacher figures throughout my life. Just like the number 108 is rippled all across the universe, my soul is currently experiencing the ripple of having to learn and complete this lesson of rebelling against authority. As we evolve, we develop better tools that don't involve the drama of, let's say, starting a duel like in olden days, or being this master of deception and poisoning all of your enemies. These are all different choices made from a more vengeful and lower state of consciousness in different times, right? The very nature of the soul incarnating through different forms and lifetimes is to experience the diversity of experiences. The soul is constantly evolving. Otherwise, we would all still be chopping people's heads off with the guillotine if they pissed us off. So when we go on a shamanic journey to explore the themes of a past life story, what happens is we call on the help of a spirit guide to take you on an inner journey into the deepest parts of you. And the deepest parts of you speaks in the language of symbols, very much like how dreams are a sequence of symbols. Now, symbols don't always make linear sense. Just like in dreams, sometimes you'll find yourself revisiting a childhood memory. Then all of a sudden, you're flying on the back of a dragon. You don't know why. You can experience symbols visually, emotionally. You could experience it auditorily or intuitively through a deep inner knowing that just can't be explained. But just like all powerful dreams, when you wake up, you have a new awareness. You feel more empowered to change something. This is basically that process of how I facilitate group shamanic journeys. We also do some breath work in the beginning to quiet the monkey mind and also to activate the energetic body so that we can be more apt to receive this deep inner guidance and also guidance from spirit. There are three main lifetimes that hold significance in how they affect you in this life. And that is one, the lifetime when you suffered the most. Two is the lifetime when you had the most resources and you abused your power. And then three is the lifetime that you had the most resources and you used it selflessly. When you are able to understand the mistakes from past lifetimes and embrace them as a hidden gift to empower a new way of operating in this life and also future lives, your soul will expand. Your sensitivity to higher realms of consciousness will expand. And the overall quality of how you live this life also expands. Now, of course, there are many other lifetimes that you can visit, like journeying to see how you and your family, your friends, or even your lovers have journeyed together as souls over the many different chapters of history together. But these three are the ones that really anchor you in the remembrance of why you are here on the planet this time around. Most often in our daily lives, we are probably experiencing time as this one-directional train ride that carries us from birth until death. From a shamanic perspective, the passing of time is a mental construct and ultimately an illusion. It is not as linear as we'd like to think. The past, the present, the future are actually all happening at once, like parallel dimensions unfolding simultaneously. So when we are called to heal past life stories, we are actually being called to heal our future life stories as well. And this can only happen through the willingness to participate in creating a more authentic way of living consciously as your present self in the here and now. So I hope that this sheds some new light on how you think of yourself and of past lives and where you are on your spiritual journey. If you have any comments or insights or even questions about shamanic journeying or past lives, or if you want to come to any upcoming workshops, feel free to comment below or send me a direct message. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in another video.